today we are going to be watching Defunctland, the history of the worst SeaWorld ride, Submarine Quest. I went to SeaWorld when I was an itty bitty little berry before I had any say in where I was going because I know SeaWorld not very good anymore. But I remember that I had a cookie and it was pretty good. Let's check it out.
On March 19, 2015, it was announced that Joel Manby would become the new CEO of SeaWorld Entertainment.
Okay.
Manby was previously the CEO of Hershend Enterprises, the largest family-owned amusement park company in the United States.
Whee!
The charismatic Manby had a proven track record in the theme park industry, and was even somewhat of a public figure after appearing on the CBS reality show,
Do you want to be a cowboy?
Undercover Boss.
Oh! Okay, he's the undercover boss, but he's dressed like he has a JoJo stand? Yeah!
Manby faced a great challenge when he took the helm at SeaWorld. The corporation's portfolio consisted of 6 parks: Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Busch Gardens Tampa, Sesame Place in Pennsylvania, and 3 SeaWorld branded amusement parks. The
I can't do a flip like that. I know I'm an octopus, but you can't expect much from me.
original SeaWorld San Diego, which opened in 1964, SeaWorld Orlando, which opened in 1973.
Dude, wasn't there that event, or not event, that I meant tragedy. Wasn't there that tragedy where that person was swimming and then the orca like threw them up in the air and then they ended up dying? I remember that. I was like a little kid and we were talking about that at my school. Holy crap, that I don't even remember when that was, but that's like the one thing I really remember about SeaWorld.
And SeaWorld San Antonio, which opened in 1988. It was no secret why the position of CEO was vacant, as for the past 2 years, SeaWorld had been in crisis mode.
Oh.
In 2013, the documentary Blackfish.
Yes, dude! I remember when this came out, everybody was like, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. And I imagine, not saying that they're good people, but the CEO of SeaWorld must have been like,
Premiered.
damn it! Oh. Wait. I forgot that if I slam my desk, it pauses and unpauses the video.
A scathing look at the treatment of captive orcas, specifically those held and bred at SeaWorld amusement parks. By the end of 2013, the documentary was airing regularly on CNN, and activists, government officials, and the general public as a whole were putting overwhelming pressure on SeaWorld to end their signature orca program.
Good. Oh, then it doesn't work. Good.
Were putting overwhelming pressure on SeaWorld to end their signature orca program. Manby assumed the position of CEO at the height of this crisis. Up to this point, SeaWorld's main response to the outcry had been to attack the documentary, the filmmakers, and the interviewees. But this only made matters worse.
Yeah.
So the company pivoted to improving the living conditions of its orcas. In August of
Dude, isn't it sad that they had to get scared into doing that? Like, why are you not already giving them great living conditions?
2014,
Dude, you know what that kind of reminds me of? Do you guys remember when the happened? There would be signs outside of stores that said, oh, we like super cleaned the building. We weren't already super cleaning the building every day? All right.
SeaWorld had announced an initiative titled the Blue World Project, that if approved would almost double the size of the orca tanks at SeaWorld San Diego, and subsequently in San Antonio and Orlando. When Manby joined the company, this project was still awaiting approval by the California Coastal Commission, which had jurisdiction over construction projects in the California Coastal Zone, which included SeaWorld San Diego, which sits in San Diego's Mission Bay. Just over 6 months after Manby joined SeaWorld, the commission approved the Blue World Project, but only on the condition that SeaWorld stop breeding and transferring orcas.
Dude, I'm gonna say this because I say this every time. Did you know that China owns every panda? What happens is whenever they loan the pandas out to America, if the pandas end up having babies in America, they also have to send the babies back to China.
Effectively forcing them to end their orca program entirely once the park's current orcas passed. SeaWorld planned to sue the Coastal Commission to have the conditions removed, but Manby was already taking SeaWorld in a new direction. The month after the commission's conditional approval, Manby held a conference call with investors in which he outlined a new vision for the company.
Okay.
Manby's plan.
We are going to hire the greatest furry artists of all time, make them make giant suits and sit in a pool all day. Genius.
Plan was to shift focus away from animal shows and put resources into more traditional amusement park attractions with a nautical theme.
Okay.
In the call, Mamby announced 3 new attractions, all themed after a single television show named Sea Rescue. Sea Rescue was a documentary series that followed a group of veterinarians and experts attempting to rescue and rehabilitate marine life. The first attraction based off of the show was a unique roller coaster named SeaWorld Rescue: The Ride.
Wait. We're protecting animals. By the way, isn't this roller coaster radical?
Which would be constructed for SeaWorld San Antonio.
Yeah, is this not just a giant ad? It's like when they ride the elevator in, what was it, Fairly Odd Parents? They're like, when did we get to the ride? This is the ride!
Another was tentatively titled SeaWorld Rescue, and concept art depicted guests sporting a rescue truck and receiving unique views of an aquarium. This attraction was earmarked for SeaWorld Orlando. Finally, the third attraction would be a submarine ride named Ocean Explorer, to be built at SeaWorld San Diego. The Sea Rescue rides were multi-million-dollar attractions.
Millions? Oh my god. Why don't they just give me a 4-wheeler and then I'll hook up some like little carts behind me and I'll drive everybody around. And I'll only ask for $10 an hour.
And in order to pay for them, Mamby explained that he was diverting money away from the Blue World project. 4 months later, in March of 2016, Mamby made the decision to end SeaWorld's orca breeding program. The following month, SeaWorld announced that the Blue World project had officially been canceled. And as Mamby had outlined, the money was instead invested in new attractions for SeaWorld's 3 parks.
Okay.
While the Sea Rescue truck ride for Orlando would be scrapped, SeaWorld San Antonio would receive its Sea Rescue attraction, a double launch coaster now titled Wavebreaker: The Rescue Coaster. SeaWorld San Diego would also receive its submarine ride.
That looks like a missile. I don't think I want to ride this. I'm kind of scared for my life.
But the company was now promising much more. In February of 2016, SeaWorld announced that a new 3-acre section, or a new realm as it was officially called, would be added to SeaWorld San Diego, named Ocean Explorer.
Okay.
The children's area would feature aquariums, rides, and digital technologies.
Dude, they used to have this at the zoo I went to when I was a kid where you had to go through like a tunnel and there were a bunch of fishes on top of you. And for some reason, for years, I had this fear of aquariums where I thought all of the glass would just bust and everybody would die. But like, you could probably run away. I don't know. I've really hated aquariums for a long time.
All focused on exploration and adventure, with a theme of ocean conservation. On top of some small flat-top rides, the area would feature a
And ain't nothing wrong with being flat. Just have to say that every time.
flagship attraction, named Submarine Quest. This was the realization of the attraction that Mamby had announced months earlier in his conference call. The press release for the ride explained that, quote, guests would be adventurers on a global expedition of scientific exploration, traveling aboard submarines to see ocean explorers' remarkable undersea animals. Concept art of the area showed some of the marine life children would be able to interact with.
The most terrifying crab of all time that looks like a giant spider that's going to eat you? Could we not put some, like, I don't know, penguinos? Like, they're a little bit less intimidating than a giant spider crab.
And torment incessantly with new creative glass placement. This concept art was either hastily made or sloppily made, or both,
That was me!
with some really poor compositing, as seen by the piece of concept art for Submarine Quest.
Dude, this is before AI. This was straight up arts and crafts.
While these seem to just be stock photos quickly placed inside a rendering of the submarine, the inclusion of this kid is perfect foreshadowing. Construction began in the summer of 2016, and the realm was scheduled to open in late spring of 2017. Ocean Explorer would be built just to the right of the park's entrance, on a relatively empty parcel next to one of the park's cafes. A flag display and a small animal viewing area would be removed to make way for the new realm.
Oh my god, what did they do with the animals? Did they get rehomed somewhere else? I mean, we're talking about SeaWorld. Oh no, they're going to the hibachi.
Concept art for the land was circulated as construction began, and it appeared that the area's signature attraction, despite the name Submarine Quest, would actually be an elevated dark ride.
Yeah, where's the submarine? I guess this would be like above a marine.
with outdoor sections, similar to Disney's People Mover attraction and the High in the Sky Seuss trolley train ride at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure.
Dude, am I allowed to tell you guys something that was crazy to me? One time I rode this ride and the people in front of me would not stop making out. This ride makes me so uncomfortable.
Attraction and the High in the Sky Seuss trolley train ride at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure. Both of these attractions were gentle trips around their respective lands, providing guests a relaxing outdoor ride with some short dark ride portions. With Submarine Quest, it was assumed that these dark ride portions would be more elaborate, providing guests with special views of the new aquarium during their adventure. In a statement, SeaWorld assured the public that Submarine Quest would not be a shoot-'em-up style dark ride.
Wait, didn't they say this was in Texas? Was this the one in Texas? Everybody's like, oh, damn it!
Even though no one considered that this was a possibility. Instead,
Did he have our phone? What was that?
Style dark ride. Even though no...
And look, I'm there! And they shot me. And I died. Awesome, man.
No one considered that this was a possibility. Instead, the press release explained that by, quote, using digital touchscreens mounted in the ride vehicles, riders will play games and score points as they spot ocean creatures.
Dude, touching any screen at an amusement park makes me so uncomfortable. Because you know the kid before you...
During the indoor and outdoor journey. The company launched a significant media campaign to coincide with the release of the new realm. SeaWorld San Diego published a video series on YouTube titled Meet the Deep, in which hosts Mike and Jenna chronicled the area and specifically Submarine Quest development and construction. The Meet the Deep series is quite possibly the most in-depth documentation of a ride's construction by a theme park.
That's kind of cool, though. I like to see the way that they do stuff, especially like some of the Disney animatronics. Those are crazy.
The web series explores almost every aspect of construction.
Cool.
In the third episode, Mike and Jenna introduce Brian Morrow, Vice President of Theme Park Experience Design. Brian shows off the model ride vehicle for Submarine Quest and explains the interactive elements that were being installed in the ride, noting the touchscreen game that would be the attraction's signature feature.
Wait, this is Meet the Deep. And I'm an octopus. I don't think I want to meet the deep.
Days after this Meet the Deep episode was published, the final ride vehicle model was revealed at the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions Expo in 2016, and it was revealed in epic fashion.
You know, the guy who pulled it went, ah, shit.
A trailer was also released during the expo with a new opening date of summer 2017.
Punch in your coordinates. Set a course for discovery. Dive into Ocean Explorer. A whole new realm.
I can't swim.
SeaWorld.
In January of 2017, a Meet the Deep episode was published in which Brian gave a tour of Chance Rides in Wichita, Kansas, which was the manufacturer for the attraction. They gave the first
Dude, the LEDs inside there just remind me of like Pimp My Ride. Pimp My Sub.
glimpse of the full-scale sub still in production, complete with lighting and the touchscreen game. The next episode featured Mike and Jenna actually playing this game. It was explained that the in-ride game would feature difficulty resistance, so that it was challenging for players of all.
Dude, I'm just gonna say this from the perspective of somebody who tries to like use a touchscreen sometimes, like my iPad. There is no way this shit's gonna last if everybody who comes in here, like they're playing OS on this.
Ages. It was also revealed that there would be different levels of awards depending on how well the riders played. Also during this time, SeaWorld announced that a new roller coaster named Electric Eel would debut at SeaWorld San Diego in 2018. This coaster would be part of a Phase 2 expansion to the Ocean Explorer realm.
That looks like the first roller coaster I ever made on Roller Coaster Tycoon, and then at the end they shoot off and explode.
Throughout the spring of 2017, as construction crews were putting the finishing touches on the new land, Meet the Deep walked the site multiple times. In April, SeaWorld held a ceremony to unveil the final submarine to park guests.
Okay.
3, 2, 1!
Yay!
The submarine remained on display as construction neared completion. Ocean Explorer and Submarine Quest had an impressive turnaround time. Despite being delayed from spring to summer of
I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to ride a ride that had an impressive turnaround time.
2017, the new land was still set to debut just 16 months after being announced. No one seemed more excited for the land to open than those internally at SeaWorld. Executives and the ride's designers hoped that enthusiasm would spread to guests. Tempting fate, SeaWorld San Diego president John Riley said, quote, "Our guest response to new attractions has always been tremendously positive."
Foreshadowing is a device used by theme park enthusiasts too.
On June 1st, 2017, Ocean Explorer held its grand opening ceremony. SeaWorld pulled out all of the stops for the event. There were ribbon wavers.
Damn! It's like the guy who in SpongeBob when he goes da 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 da, and then he like spins the thing and just shoots off into the air and explodes.
Confetti, flares, the eel from a discontinued ice show at Busch Gardens Tampa, and they even got a bubble guy.
No! Yes, baby, that's what I'm talking about! Yes! Is that a giraffe?
With the realm now open, dozens of guests who had waited minutes for the land's opening casually walked inside
I mean, I guess it's better than seconds.
the new world of exploration, discovery, and conservation
Woo!
by apparently immediately trampling the plants due to lack of fencing.
Put your toddlers on a leash. Why are they just running around? No more free-range toddlers in my amusement park.
Ocean Explorer featured 4 new kiddie rides: Sea Dragon Drop, the Octorock, Aqua Scout, and the most well-received, Tentacle Twirl.
The ladies say it's well received here too. Just letting you know now.
The aquariums throughout Ocean Explorer were quite small, but they did feature the unique viewing angles as promised. There was also an interactive attraction, the Skill Training Pod, as well as the Explorer's Cafe,
Woo!
whose signage choices were a bit confusing as everything else in the land is designed for small children.
And craft beer. I'll take a vodka tonic.
Except for the craft beer, apparently. The signature attraction was, of course, Submarine Quest. The ride vehicles could be seen as guests entered the land, making their way around the ride track. After hearing a year's worth of press describing the ride as an immersive and interactive experience, many guests were excited and curious about what the ride had in store.
Would you be disappointed or would you be happy if there was like basically riding along the track and then one employee had like a squirt gun at the end and was like
entered the attraction through the outdoor queue, with television screens featuring a host named Sub-Commander Sparks, giving the ride safety spiel, and introducing his companion, Link.
A Link looks like he needs a little bit of help. He's running on dial-up.
The ride star and the land's mascot.
That's Link, the ROV.
Remotely operated vehicle of exploration and research, or supercomputer of the sea.
My name is Link and I make aluminum lead. Yippee! Can somebody please help me? Very good word for me. Thank you.
Just Link will do.
A figure of Link could also be found at the realm's entrance. After entering the loading station, guests passed by a few simple art pieces and immediately boarded their subs. There were
Nice.
7 subs, each with a special name, with no clear direction or pattern.
Well, I mean, they have a special name, right? Twitch Prime, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3.
2 of them are named after parts of a ship, Axle and Rudder. One of them is a fish with a first name, Macy Mackerel.
Why do you say it like that? We all know fishes don't have first names.
And another is just a first name with a nautical adjective, Bubbly Bailey. As guests sat in the
Okay, that sounds a little inappropriate.
ride vehicle, Sub-Commander Sparks returned to instruct riders to pull down on their lap bar, before Link joined him for the voyage. Sub-Commander Sparks told riders to tap the screen in order to release the airlock, and guests began their expedition into the majesty of the deep, blue, blinding sunlight.
Oh! I forgot to change my theme on Chrome, damn. Lipo, damn you!
After passing by trees and concrete, guests entered the first show scene of Submarine Quest, which was that of a deep-sea coral reef. This scene is supposed to be in the Twilight Zone, a zone that is so deep below the surface that sunlight cannot reach it.
Why didn't they just put it in a building?
Of course, the ride represents this in broad daylight with 2
can't even
screens that
see.
briefly display an octopus.
Whoa, that octopus was totally camouflaged.
Yeah, by the blinding light in my eyes, damn!
After the Twilight Zone was the Sunlight Zone, where guests saw eels.
Eels! Thank you, Claptrap.
Click faster.
Sub-Commander Sparks detects a large animal ahead, and guests begin a pursuit. Riders are able to see Link in front of them. This static figure featured a digital face that never quite
You can't even see it.
synced up with the audio from the ride vehicle. The two decide to send out the Beacon Buddies on a mission.
Wow, look at this genuinely amazing experience that totally cannot be replicated.
Wait.
The Beacon Buddies find huge jellyfish and something even bigger ahead. As guests escape to the old sea pod to take a look, riders are instructed to open another hatch, despite the hatch always opening before the instruction audio is finished.
Yeah, it's already open, man. You're just paying me to sit here.
Press the blue button to open the hatch.
Yeah, that is like the fastest QTE ever. Sony, take notes.
The sub then enters a sea pod full of screens that display a giant CGI squid. After a brief stop in the sea pod, riders open the escape hatch and re-enter the ocean, just as the squid breaks the glass on the sea pod and releases ink.
You gotta be squidding me.
As guests exit the pod, water sprays at riders. The water effect was incredibly inconsistent, and it is not clear whether the water was triggered by a game mechanism and only appeared sometimes, or if it was simply an unreliable effect.
Probably.
It was shot from the left of the ride vehicles, and instead of giving all of the riders a light mist, it just hosed the rider in the
Who pissed my pants? Was it that damn squid?
front left seat. After this scene, the subs take a final turn back into the loading station. During this short segment, guests found out what type of explorer they were. There were 3 options: Junior Explorer, Super Explorer, and Master Explorer, even though in play
What about Internet Explorer? I mean, the ride's pretty slow.
testing, Mike scored Marine Veterinarian, which did not seem to be an option that made it into the final game. Guests then re-entered the loading station and exited their vehicles. Incredibly, Submarine Quest was not a hit with guests.
What?
And this is
What? After all that time and energy and squirt mechanics, nobody liked it? Yeah, impossible.
putting it lightly. In general, guests were shocked to find out that Submarine Quest was neither sub nor marine, as it took place 15 feet above the ground in the open air. The outdoor show scenes were sparse, and the one dark ride scene was a disappointment. The ride did look better at night,
That
as there
looks
was at
fine.
least a chance of the illusion of being in the deep ocean.
But I'm gonna be honest, I'm not staying around SeaWorld till 8 p.m. Like, I'm just gonna go home. That is way too much of a time commitment.
But sunset in the summer in San Diego is around 8 p.m., and most nights, SeaWorld closed at 9. The creative decisions made for the ride were quite confusing.
Do you want to ride this ride at night? 9.
Many guests speculated that the ride had its budget cut late in development, which could be
Yeah.
possible, but concept art for the land did display the ride almost exactly as it was built. Supposedly, the initial plans called for the ride track to be longer and mostly enclosed in a
See, that looks way better. You could even like project fishies on the ceiling and stuff.
tube. However, it seemed that a significant portion of the budget was put into research and development for the unique ride vehicle rather than putting that money towards show scenes.
What were we researching? Because I know for damn sure we were developing nothing.
The designers clearly took a lot of pride in their work, and it seems as though this part of the experience was built more or less from the ground up, which is theoretically impressive. However, in practice, all that is noticeable is the inherent and consistent flaws in the mechanics of the game.
I told you that screen was only gonna work for a week.
Most obvious in the confusion during the Beacon Buddies section, which was present all the way back during playtesting.
Tap the screen to deploy the Beacon Buddies.
Okay, at least they play tested. There's a lot of games that have come out recently that I know nobody even touched.
Other criticisms included the screens being difficult to see in the sunlight and that the voice of Link was obnoxious.
Excitement overload.
To add insult to injury, the entire realm had a branding problem, as seemingly everyone believed that Ocean Explorer was the name of the ride and not the name of the realm.
What the heck is this Ocean Explorer ride car?
So, Ocean Explorer is actually the name of the whole land.
He's like, no. I see that this is going in a completely wrong direction. At that moment, he knew he flipped up.
On June 3rd, 2 days after the ride's debut, the San Diego Union Tribune released a scathing review of the ride, saying, quote, "The biggest disappointment is the heavily promoted Submarine Quest. SeaWorld is touting it as a high-tech trip through the ocean ecosystem, but it turns out to be a slow-moving track ride past a few animated animals on video screens."
This is like, you guys remember that Connect game where you could have your own pet tiger? It's kind of like that, Connectimals, but like with friends.
Brady McDonald of the Orlando Sentinel said, quote, "The New Land Centerpiece ride is basically a slow-moving transportation system that doesn't take you anywhere and encourages you to ignore your surroundings." On August 8th,
Hey, we're at SeaWorld. We know people are ignoring their surroundings. Anytime I go to a theme park, I get hit with at least 3 strollers.
2017. During SeaWorld's Q2 earnings call, Manby stated that Ocean Explorer had been a disappointment. He said, quote, "I think the one thing that I'm not satisfied with is Ocean Explorer. We did not market this as well as I wanted to. It's completely designed for young children, and we need to make sure that's the case."
Okay.
A sign was quickly placed outside the attraction clarifying that the ride was intended for smaller guests, despite initial marketing claiming it was for all ages.
They changed their
However,
mind?
poor marketing and bad reviews would not be Submarine Quest's only problems, as technical issues plagued the attraction as well. The ride often had a significant wait, as only 2 to 3 subs were run at a time.
Dude, amateur hour. I'm acting like I run a theme park. But like, you're supposed to, I think the rides that do the best are the ones with like a ton of like cars on a track, and then everybody like walks onto them because like the loading time is so like fast and there's so many cars.
Rather than the 7 the ride was capable of. This was only a problem when the ride was operating, which it frequently was not.
They just didn't even have anybody riding the ride ever?
Throughout the ride's debut summer, Submarine Quest was constantly closed for maintenance. By September, frequent guests noticed that the ride was barely ever open. One visitor noted that they had been 4 times since the ride's debut, and the attraction had been closed all 4 times. The ride operated intermittently throughout the summer of 2017.
Dude, that would be disappointing, because I went to, my dad visited, and we went to Epic Universe, and he really, really wanted to ride the roller coaster, but the roller coaster was down the entire time he was here, which is sad, because imagine some kid is like, I really want to ride Ocean Explorer, please, 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 and then it's shut down. Also, I don't know who this hypothetical kid is, because I don't think any of them wanted to ride this anyway.
It was closed for most of the fall. It did reopen in December, and on December 30th, 2017, during the busy winter holiday, it accumulated a 130-minute wait time, baffling those that had already ridden the attraction. This was one of the last days of operation for Submarine Quest.
Oh, it's
It is
gonna
unclear
die.
if the ride operated in early January or when its true final day of operation was. But by mid-January 2018, a mere 7 months after opening, the doors to Submarine Quest were blocked off, leaving guests speculating on the future of the ride.
Explosion! 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 Bring in the dynamite! Explosion! Explosion! Explosion!
On February 28, 2018, SeaWorld CEO Joel Manby resigned from his position at the company after less than 3 years as the chief executive.
That's not good. I meant to explode the ride, not that guy's career.
Falling attendance and steep quarterly losses were cited as the main reason for Manby's exit. But multiple publications were quick to mention the recent failure of the Submarine Quest attraction. While clearly not the main reason for his departure, the realm's failure could have been a contributing factor. Just 4 days later, it was announced that Chief Creative Officer Anthony Esparza and Vice President of Theme Park Experience Design, Brian Morrow, were—
Okay, listen to this. I got this. I'm gonna fix all of the problems right now. Here we go. Pay attention. This is class. What the ride is gonna be instead? It's gonna be a penguin on the track, and you ride the penguin like this. I mean, not that crazy, but the penguin goes down the snow slopes like this. Penguin ride. Second ride. Tentacle time. And you ride the tentacles, and they go in a circle, and you get a controller, and they can go up and down. W? Animal abuse. No, not a real penguin! I meant like a penguin-shaped like ride, not an actual penguin. Holy crap! My fat ass would kill that thing. iPads go where? Right here. And it also has Street Pass.
resigning from their roles as well. Many online again wondered if the resignations were related to the poor reception of the Ocean Explorer realm, but this is merely speculation. Other rumors circulated attempting to make sense of the ride's closure. Some believe that an injury had occurred on the ride, or that
making sense of the closure is crazy. This was the greatest ride of all time. How did it shut down? God, why, cruel world?
SeaWorld was suing either the designers or the manufacturers over technical issues. Currently, there is no evidence to support these claims.
Yeah.
Without explanation, Submarine Quest remained closed throughout the spring of 2018. In May, the San Diego Union Tribune ran a piece on the attraction. SeaWorld San Diego's official statement on the ride was, quote, "As we've conveyed to our park guests who've asked, the Submarine Quest ride at Ocean Explorer is currently undergoing maintenance.
Forever."
As soon as there is additional information, we will communicate that to you and our guests. Theme park consultant Dennis Spiegel believed that the maintenance issues were not so severe that the ride needed to be shut down, but rather the public's response to the ride was so overwhelmingly negative that it was best to keep it closed.
Okay, same ride. Jump scares. Have people randomly dressed up as the giant squid and they attack people on the ride. Also judged by the age range, so if they're like a bunch of older kids, maybe you can just be like, "Rah, rah!" But if they're a baby, be like, "Ah!" Okay, then after that, what we're gonna do is halfway through, free snack. Okay, at the very end, they say, "Thank you so much for riding." They hand you a lollipop that's in the shape of a submarine. Have a nice day. Everybody's gonna enjoy that. Maybe, okay, I already got the free food and I got the jump scares. Server subs while one sub. Wait! Instead of a popsicle, give them a sub. Free sub for everybody.
Despite the open-ended response on the ride status, SeaWorld removed all mention of the ride from the park's website. The attraction's name was soon removed from the park's maps as well, with the illustration being modified to remove the ride cars. On May 10th, 2018, Electric Eel debuted at SeaWorld San Diego.
And they forgot they turned the electricity to max, and every single person riding the ride got zapped.
Billed as an addition to the Ocean Explorer area, despite being fairly disconnected from it geographically, the short coaster was received well, and it effectively distracted guests from Submarine Quest's continued closure. In the summer of 2018,
wait, did they just jingle the keys in front of everybody's faces? Look at this new ride. Don't look over there. Don't look.
leftover Submarine Quest toys could be found at SeaWorld Orlando and Busch Gardens Tampa, despite the ride remaining closed and also being on the other side of the country. On July 2nd, 2018,
Legoland. Do you guys know that you have to bring a child with you or they won't let you in? I don't make the rules. That is the truth.
Legoland, California, a theme park just 30 miles north of SeaWorld San Diego, debuted their own submarine ride, named Lego City Deep Sea Adventure. The attraction
Is this where the man drowns in the Lego City River?
actually placed guests under the water to view real sea creatures, which also featured more story and more show scenes. With a longer ride time and an actual feeling of discovery and exploration, Lego's Submarine Ride was everything the guests wanted and expected from Submarine Quest.
Should have had more branding, L.
And audiences were quick to notice the juxtaposition. In October of 2018, 16 months after its opening and 10 months after its closure, the sign for Submarine Quest was taken down.
Well, maybe we should have taken the giant hole off the back of the robot. Like, he straight up shitting blue lasers on me. Whose idea was that?
The ride sat dormant for over a year while the rest of Ocean Explorer continued to operate. On March 16, 2020, SeaWorld announced the closure of all its theme parks due to the COVID-19 pandemic. SeaWorld San Diego was the last of the SeaWorld parks to reopen, not opening its gates until April 12, 2021. When it did, it was revealed that work walls had been constructed around Submarine Quest. One guest noted that about 20% of the ride...
Wait, so they had all of, like, cough time, and, like, I guess they just put up the stuff to take it down? Like, they could have gotten rid of the corpse in the downtime.
Track has been removed, including the building for the ride's only dark ride portion, confirming that Submarine Quest is now officially defunct.
Aww.
Submarine Quest is a perplexing story. Most tales of ride failures have an obvious contributing factor, such as a budget cut, a mechanical flaw, a rush to market, or a world-shattering news event that suddenly makes the initial concept taboo halfway through development. However, Submarine Quest did not have an obvious hurdle. While budget, time constraints, and mechanics certainly could have contributed to the attraction's failure,
the idea just sucked.
Based on available information, it seems just as likely that it was simply a bad idea with bad execution. The design team clearly put a lot of energy and thought into the attraction, but in all of the wrong areas, and the heavy marketing efforts and enthusiasm from SeaWorld staff could not distract from the ride's glaring and overwhelming creative failures.
True.
Submarine Quest is not only a result of the precarious position SeaWorld was in at
Like, look at how boring this is. Like, probably the funniest thing you could do is, like, maybe, like, your brother or your sister's hanging out watching you on the ride, and then you, like...
the time of its construction, it's also a perfect representation of it. Submarine Quest, like SeaWorld, had a huge identity problem. It did not know what it should be, and it certainly did not know what audiences wanted from it. As SeaWorld continues to rebrand and evolve, the company can only hope that their parks as a whole meet a different fate than that of Submarine Quest.
I know what to do. Take this entire ride, move it and put it in Vegas, then make the screen to where you play poker. Money printer?
What is this?
It's the greatest dark ride in the world.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I super appreciate it. If you're new here, make sure you leave a comment down below if you would ride this ride and if you're sad if it's gone. And come by the stream to twitch.tv/BerryCrepe and use code Berry for 10% off your gamer subs order. I would super appreciate it. Have a great evening. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.